How modern men can avoid becoming a soy boy. Some of these problems might have actually been my fault. I'd bully that kid today. The soy boy doesn't know his self-identity and he looks outside to what people say about him, what he should believe about himself. Now, I feel I can talk on this because as a reformed soy boy myself, no better person to be able to talk you through the process. As a kid, I was a very shy, insecure, but genuinely soft kid and teenager. I think it served me very, very well. But as you get older, that demeanor and that outlook and who you are as a person starts to not work in society. When you start to have to join the competitive landscape for the types of women you want to date, for the types of money you want to make, for the job opportunities, the way that you lived as a child can no longer work. And that was a shock to me even. There are a couple of different things, about 7 different things I'm going to label that you could start to implement in your life that is going to really help you. If you are someone that feels as if they want to toughen up, you are someone that feels that they're not getting what they want in life, do these and you'll find that over time, it's not going to take a day, it's just going to be a little bit of a process, but you're going to find the weeks and months that you start to do these, you are going to be less and less a soy boy. The first real change that I make, as I got older, I started to question literally everything. I started to question what the things that I was being taught at school, the things that people were telling me were right and wrong. I started to develop a worldview for myself. Because up until then, everyone had told me what to think, what to act, what to say, what to do. And when you're a child, you are responsible. Your parents are very responsible. And I think as you get older, you either fall into that habit of just people telling you what to do and becoming a bit more of a follower, or learning to step up and become a quote unquote leader. But first you have to lead yourself. And so one of the big things that I was able to do was I got, if you don't know, I was a golfer and I got flung into a few positions of captaincy. And that helped when I started to have to lead some other people into positions of golf tournaments and group golf tournaments. And that helped me because I was able to I knew that people were relying on me and that pressure very much helped me. And it came to the pressure helped me, questioning things helped me, for me to get a better view of what I believed was right and wrong. So what I thought people had told me, I started to question. I started to say, well, is that right? Did they tell me that thing to be right? A lot of people, one of the things is they stop being able to talk as one of their problems. And I question a lot of people that come into social life mentoring. I'm like, was there a situation or a scenario that you stopped talking and it was when someone told them to shut the hell up, or no one cares what you have to say, and they just reverted right back in? And I always thought, okay, well, that's okay that you thought that, but do you believe them? Is that something that you actually believe, that you should shut up and you should not be heard? And a lot of the time they're like, no, I don't believe that, but truly inside they do, otherwise they would talk a little bit more. So I started questioning things that happened, and I almost started questioning my traumas a little bit as well, being like, well, I was a child when that happened, maybe I saw it completely differently. Like in a scenario that happens and you see both sides, but one person only sees one side, they have a complete warped view of what happened, and you're like, no, well, that was only because that happened and that happened. And so I started to do that with life and even my traumas and be like, well, maybe I saw it wrong. Maybe I saw it differently. And it was not so much questioning the world, what they were telling me, but what I was thinking about myself. And so that really helped me go from the boy to the man, which was starting to understand that some of these problems that were caused in my life might have actually been my fault. And I can remember the one where a lot of it was bullying, and I went back on my Facebook and I was seeing what I was posting and what I was saying, and I was like, man, like, I'd bully that kid today pretty well. I was like, he's causing this all by himself. Like, well, why is he posting? I was talking to him as if it was a third person. Why is he posting all this? I was like, wow, it's just attention-seeking behavior, and no wonder some people did not resonate with it. So I understood that. So question everything. So the second thing that really helped me was when I first got into success with women, when I would start to go up and they would reject me and I would get rejected by a girl that I liked, I understood that maybe it wasn't so personal. And so the second thing is I stopped taking things so personally. I thought, This person flat out rejected me, maybe called me a name or two, maybe, made me feel a certain way, but they don't know anything about me. They've met me for a good 35 seconds. And if I allow them to be able to tell me how good or how worthy I am, then my self-esteem is so fickle that I don't even trust or believe in myself at all. And someone that had known me for 30 seconds is going to allow to tell me who I am and what I deserve in this world. And so I realized once you get more desensitized to people rejecting you, especially pretty girls, it stops taking it so seriously. And that helped. And that sort of bleeds into the way I stopped taking things so seriously was a couple of different ways. One of them, which goes into number 3, which is banter and learning to give it back. So I had a very good friend of mine. He identified that I was a bit soft as a person. I was a soy boy. I was weak. And it was because when people would give me crap or give me shit or bullying or rejected by the girls, it would shut me down, and it wouldn't spur me on or motivate me to give it back to them. And I realized that was like a self-defeating mechanism. That was something that a soy boy does. They allow people to tell them who they are and shut down instead of fight back and give it back to them. And so with this banter, he knew that if he gave me enough banter over the years, I would eventually fight back. And that was an epiphany that I had, that I was like, wow, I'm getting stronger because they're not affecting me. Because if my best friend is able to tell me some terrible stuff about me, and he knows everything about me, but I'm able to give it back to him just as much. That's not something I did when I was getting bullied in school at all. It was something that I just shut down and have this self-defeating mechanism, like this person's completely right. And it made me realize, like, I started to take a lot more people more sarcastically. Like, yeah, you don't even know me, yet you're saying everything about me you think I am. It's like, I just kind of looked at it as like, oh yeah, they're just sarcastic. They're just being sarcastic. They're not even meaning what they're saying. And so when I was able to give this banter back and forth, I was able to give it back to them, oh, you're sure, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, shut up, Tubby. What do you think this is? There's a couple of cakes over there. It wasn't so much that I was throwing back some insults, but I was not allowing their insult to dictate who I was as a person and who I am today. Because a lot of the time what would happen, someone would insult me, and it would last for a lot of years after. And it would change my behavior even. And that was because, as the soy boy does, he doesn't know his self-identity, and he looks outside to what people say about him as what he should believe about himself, instead of knowing who he is as a person. And I think once you go through enough experiences in life as well, you start to really figure out who you are. Number 4 is they're scared of confrontation, which leads into also number 6 as well. But they're scared of being able to de-escalate a conversation, be able to de-escalate a scenario. They try to avoid it and people please as much as possible because they've figured out a Machiavellian tactic where they're able to be a little bit of a weasel and not get into fights and get into trouble. And what that breeds is more soy boy behavior of like just trying to people please every single other person, not realizing that people love you when people hate you as well, when you are that polarizing character. And yeah, it's very weasel behavior that these soy boys exhibit, because that was one of the things that I used to do. It was very weaselly in the way that I would Machiavellian situations and try to make sure and understand when people are going to get aggressive or de-escalate people. And it just looking back, it's like I now kind of let things happen and don't try to please everybody. The 5th one that really changed the game for me was getting around a lot more stronger men. And what I mean by that is learning how to act as a strong man, because you're not taught. I did a calculation of all the teachers I had, and I remember I had about I did a calculation on all my teachers from primary school, middle school, from sophomore, senior, whatever, if you're American. And I had about 4 men teachers And I had about 8 or 9, a lot, we do 13 years in school. So it was like 4, and then I think there was like 9 or 8 female teachers all up. And raised by a mother as well. I've been around a lot of feminine energy, so I didn't know how to act. I didn't know what true masculinity was. And this could be something that you don't have a role model as well. And it made me understand about hanging around with the right kinds of people, what that true masculinity was. And so if I think back at some experiences that I had, I remember one experience that I had, I was on I did some construction for a couple of days, and those guys are heavy, manly men, right? And they're swearing, they're yelling, they're carrying on, and not that this was that young, but I remember if I was a bit younger, I would have been super reactive to what they were. Oh my God! Oh, they're saying and I would have been super reactive and shut down. And as I got older and I was around this scenario, I wasn't doing that. I was kind of observing them. And I was like, okay, well, this is the way that they act. There's no reason. And people yelling, people screaming, like, get this, and no one's taking anything personally as well. I was like, interesting. Because, they were calling the apprentice names, and the apprentice just blew it off like it was nothing. Oh yeah, whatever. Shut up, you old man. And it was just funny. I was like, wow, this is the way. I remember that, or other scenarios where I get around more dominant masculine people and just observe the way that they were and see if I could start to take some characteristics. Like, even if they didn't know the plan, they made sure everyone else around them knew that they would either figure it out or they had a plan and they would just make it up on the spot. I was like, wow, that's a new thought I never had. It's like, all right, I know the plan, guys. We're going to, we're doing this. And they would lead people. I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. That's something that I can definitely do. Number 6 is getting into fighting. And that helps because, as I said, you're avoiding confrontation. Well, when you're fighting, you're in a confrontation. This is like the be's end and end all. And when you realize it ain't that terrible, and you're like, well, this ain't that bad. This thing that I was so scared of for so many years is, I don't even feel it when I get punched. The adrenaline is so high, and I get, a bit gritty, and I get, I feel like a man when this happens. Interesting. It's like your whole physiognomy changes when you start to confront the thing that you're so scared of for so many years. And the last one that is going to help the soy boys become men is really watching their diet, because majority of time, it usually involves a lot of soy products. You're a soy boy because you're eating too much soy. That's pretty much what's happening. You're eating, you could have very high estrogen, you could have very low testosterone, but your diet has a huge effect. And so when you're eating things like a meal like a steak, avocado, it's very hard, and broccoli or Brussels sprouts or spinach or something, it's a very high protein, very masculine meal, rather than your yogurts or some other soy products, soy almond milk or something, right? So watching your diets, because everything that you're putting in your body is having a natural effect, whether you like it or not. Whether it's that protein bar that you think, oh, it's just protein, but it doesn't form naturally in the world. Whether it's that, whether it's breakfast cereals, whether it's something that you get from a gas station, Doritos, like all of this stuff you should not be eating, because it's really having an effect to the way that you behave, the way that you think, and the way that you act. And you didn't even know that. And so that was the 7 big things that changed me from becoming a soy boy to becoming someone that is more masculine. And I think I'm on the journey to get better and better and better. And this is what I teach all the guys in Social Life Mentoring, these ideas about. This is what, if you start to just incorporate these concepts into your life, you see the world differently, you act differently, and then you're going to start to see some female validation coming from you, some girls liking you, some girls really wanting to be in your life, because now all of a sudden you ooze this confidence, you ooze this self-esteem. You're not this guy that is in the corner, people pleasing, being stuck in the friend zone. You're someone that is okay with confrontation, is okay with some light level teasing and some banter, and is okay and doesn't take things so personally and emotionally. You're someone that is very emotionally resilient. So if you do those 7 things, they're very much going to help. And again, if you want to be able to join my program, and you can, get some of these as well as daily calls, we have 7 courses, be around some very high level masculine guys that we have in the community. join the program, man. It's such a phenomenal thing. I used to charge a lot of money for it, and now it's just, 1/10 the price. So I would definitely think about investing in yourself in this area, because it is a no-brainer. It's going to 10x your income, 10x the girls, 10x the network that you have. It is an absolute no-brainer. But it's Sam here checking out. Arrivederci. I'll see you in the next video.